Hello everyone and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. A lot of rain, some flooding, and even a few tornadoes as Oklahoma wheat harvest officially gets underway. For an update on how things are going so far, I talked with Josh Bushong, our OSU Extension area agronomist. Josh, tell us what you're seeing in your part of the state and also what you're hearing from producers.
So, Memorial Day, wheat harvest. So, like you said, we're getting into wheat harvest just now. Southwest Oklahoma has been hit and miss, just like everywhere else. But as we've been getting more and more fields north of I-40 into Kingfisher County, we have some guys getting some fields off. At least some guys getting out there, getting some samples into town to see what the moisture is. Overall, still a little wet for most, but we are starting to see some come into the state.
So in terms of the fields, pretty muddy right now. A lot of people are just parked for now, but there's also some flooding damage that people are dealing with. Tell us about that.
So, coming out of winter, we were looking a little meek, but as we've gotten into April and into May, we had a lot of rains. And so a lot of that, we were able to get some great grain fill, but here towards the end, as the rains continued, we did see some flooding out. So some acres, it's hit and miss, just like the rains were. Some fields, we might see over half of the field be flooded out. Some fields, it might be 5–10%, but still, we have a lot of significant acres that aren't going to be harvested just because we drowned out, and it terminated that crop a little too soon.
So what has made it to the elevator so far? How is that looking?
So far, like I said, we started out southwest like usual, but most of the yields have been decent, kind of what we expected at the beginning of May, but yields anywhere from 15 to 70 bushels. So we have a lot of stuff that's still decent, above average, 30, 40, 50 bushels, but most of it's going to be kind of in that average. As far as yields, reasons why those yields are where they are, is a wide range of issues too.
So what are some of those issues? Do you want to dive into that a little bit?
We have a lot of differences out there this year. It's kind of the running theme the whole year, and especially this spring as we finish off the crop. But some of it, like we said, it's drowned out just because of those late rains. But some of it's just because we didn't put the inputs into the crop. Crop was looking a little bleak coming out of winter, so I don't fault those farmers any bit. Coming out of February into March, we didn't want to put a lot of money into something we didn't see the end game into it. But hindsight's 20/20. More than likely, those inputs hopefully are paying off for a lot of guys, but a lot of weed control, a lot of herbicides weren't put out, so we have a lot of winter annual grasses definitely plaguing the crop in some fields, but also on some of those thinner stands, if we didn't use something with some residual, we're seeing some summer annual weeds come out. Mare's tail, horseweed, kind of our typical issues with, where we might need to be starting looking at some harvest aids for some of those fields.
And then what are we seeing? I know it's still very early in the harvest. There's a lot to talk about over the next few weeks, but what are we seeing in terms of overall quality and test weights?
So far it's been really good. Protein has been decent for the most part, definitely acceptable. Some other grain quality issues like test weight has been decent to great. I know some guys have been getting into lower mid 60 bushels or 60 pound per bushel on test weight, so that's been looking really well. Hopefully that holds on as we delay harvest. Some guys may be delayed 10 days, some guys looks like 2 weeks. So hopefully we'll get out there in a timely fashion and get that crop off, because the longer it stays out there, the more subjected it is to lodging, sprout damage in the heads, and just overall grain quality test weight stuff starts to drop off as we let that crop stay off.
We've enjoyed these nice cool days and cool evenings, but we sure need the sun to shine for a few days in a row, don't we?
Your rain's full, we just gotta get it dried down.
All right. Well, Josh, thank you very much for the update, and we'll wish everybody the best as they hopefully get in the field and get that wheat cut. And of course, the aftermath of all the rain is affecting another issue, and that is septic systems. For some guidance, here's SUNUP's Elizabeth Hokett with Dr. Daniel Adamson.
We're here now with Daniel Adamson, our OSU Extension Soil and Water Conservation Specialist. And Daniel, we're standing right around some septic systems here. We've gotten a lot of rain recently, and that could pose some potential issues for septic systems, right?
We have gotten a lot of rain, Elizabeth, and yes, it can pose some potential problems. So if you get a tremendous amount of rain to the point that, say, your whole backyard flooded, and your whole leach field or soil treatment area of your septic system is also flooded, then there's nowhere for that water to go out of your home. The reason for that is a septic system is designed in a way that water moves from the septic tank downhill through a series of pipes into a channel where there's a lot of gravel and porous media. So in other words, there's a lot of space to hold water and allow that water to slowly drain away as it comes from your house into the soil. So if you're getting water in your backyard that's not coming from your septic tank, it could potentially fill up all of that space, and therefore there's nowhere for any of the extra water from your septic system to go, and nothing can move away. So in that case, what you have to do is just realize you need to wait for the whole area of your backyard to naturally drain away. So try to limit the water use that's going into your septic tank as much as possible. So you could defer doing laundry, try to take shorter showers, and hopefully that can help alleviate the problem.
So this isn't the only type of septic system that people have. There are other types that maybe a smaller amount of people might have.
Right, and in fact, the aerobic treatment systems are actually becoming more popular in Oklahoma than the conventional septic system. And the reason for that is they are more flexible in where we can place them on the landscape. The only disadvantage of an aerobic treatment system is they require energy in order to function properly. So my predecessor, Dr. Sergio Abbott, nicely said you can think of them as a very expensive appliance, so they require some care and maintenance. And in order for them to function properly, they need to have some power to bubble water into a special tank to allow some oxygen input for the microorganisms to decompose the wastewater more efficiently. They also need power in order to run a series of pumps to pump the water out of that tank into either a sprinkler system that's going to sprinkle that water on the surface, or a drip system that's going to emit that wastewater subsurface on your property. If you have standing water that's above the level of the tank, that's where all the electronics are housed that are running the aerator and the pump. So in that case, you would need to make sure to turn the system off, because it's not going to function properly if there's water standing around it. Also, if you have severe weather and there's a power outage, that's a case where the system's not going to be functioning properly. It's not going to be able to pump water out of the tank. So again, the solution for that is minimize your water usage until power is restored. Once power is restored, it can take about 2 to 3 days for those microorganisms to get the right amount of oxygen again and get back to their normal functioning, and your system should be good to go after that.
So these right here are demonstrations of what is underground, and so a lot of people might not know where exactly their septic systems are if they've moved somewhere and they didn't put it in themselves. So are there any considerations that people need to think about when managing their land?
Exactly. It can be challenging to know when you move to a new property exactly where the septic system is. You should be able to see the manhole covers of your septic tank, but where the drain field or the leach field is can be a little harder to see. The key is we want that to be a relatively open area, so it can be tempting to go and drive across it or plant new trees or shrubs or landscaping. The problem is we want short-rooted plants there because we don't want anything that can have roots penetrate into the actual soil treatment trench or into any of the plumbing there. So shrubs or deep-rooted trees can have a tendency to get into that system and plug things up. So in that case, if you've or somebody before you planted a tree there and it's slowing down the ability of your septic system to allow that water to move into the soil, in those circumstances you might see problems more prevalent when you have severe weather or heavy rain like right now.
All right, thanks Daniel. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yep.
Good morning, everyone. This is State Climatologist Gary McManus with your Mesonet Weather Report. Are we having fun yet? So as I was sitting in my cellar in Norman on Tuesday night, I was just thinking there has to be a better way to get rainfall in Oklahoma. But unfortunately, this is what we deal with in the springtime to get this rain. Now we're now up to 61 tornadoes for the year. And it's going to go up as the National Weather Service folks continue their investigations of some of those storms. And that's more than the annual average of 59. So we're already above average, and we have gotten the rain and it's helped the drought. So that's a perfect segue into that newest Drought Monitor report. Well, this is the first time since July 19th that we have no drought in Oklahoma. Now, we do have that yellow abnormally dry conditions, D0, up in the northwestern part of the state in the Panhandle. That's not drought. That's signifying areas coming into or out of drought. So in this case, it's a little bit partial of both, coming into and coming out of drought, but drought-free for the first time basically in 6 years. So great news. That's what we had put up with all that severe weather for, but it's a little bit of a consolation prize, I guess. Remember, we only consider rainfall from Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. to the next Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. for the Drought Monitor. So this is what's fallen after the most recent Drought Monitor map I just showed you. So we have had a good bit of rainfall across the entire state, a little bit more, a little bit less, and in some cases way too much, in some cases way too little. But we did have a 77 county rain after that Tuesday morning cutoff. So this rain will help keep that drought at bay a little bit more. Since we are just starting out June, I thought we could take a look back at the May maps. So this is the May rainfall. You can see a lot of rain across the southeastern half of the state. Some cases we had more than 15 inches, and of course it reduces as we go up to the northwest to less than 4 inches. But we have had areas here and there in northwest Oklahoma, 4, 5, 6 inches, but a pretty good rain across the state of Oklahoma in May. Now, if we look at the departure from normal for May, we have had areas that were below normal, in some cases close to 3 inches below normal, but for the most part we were near normal or above normal. Now, a little bit out of control in southeast Oklahoma, 6 to 9 inches above normal. The Panhandle looking good, 1 to 2 inches above normal. We do need some more rain in those areas. Hopefully we got it over the last couple of days. We're also just out of climatological spring, starting climatological summer. So this is the March through May climatological spring rainfall totals from the Oklahoma Mesonet. And you can see a lot of rain. Remember, we had that record April rain. So a lot of rainfall, especially across the southeastern half of the state where they've had, in some cases more than 25 inches of rainfall. Up there in the Panhandle, a little bit less. But if we do look at the departure from normal rainfall maps from that climatological spring time frame, it's just a little bit below normal. Almost the entire state is above normal to some degree. Again, across the south central up into east central Oklahoma, a little bit out of control. But for the most part, just a few areas needing some really good rains to block out those deficits. Let's take a look forward at June. Now, we're already into June, so we're already getting some of these impacts. But from the Climate Prediction Center, we see for temperature, the outlook is for equal chances above, below, or near normal conditions. So not really a strong signal for warmer or cooler than normal conditions, or even near normal conditions. Now, for the rainfall, that's a different story, and we've already seen a little bit of this impact. We see greatly increased odds of above normal precipitation across most of the state, but indications for above normal precip across the entire state at least. Now, as for the drought outlook, we do see that area up in northwest Oklahoma being eradicated. And this is for the period of June 1st through the 30th. But the best news is we see no indications of drought developing anywhere, at least by the end of the month. So great news for the state. And again, a consolation prize for a lot of that severe weather where we did get that rainfall. So hopefully that severe weather will calm down and the rain will calm down too. We get some heat in here, some dry weather, so we can get that wheat harvest started. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.
It's that time in the show where we check in on the grain markets with our OSU agriculture economist, Dr. John Michael Riley. And John Michael, what's happening with the markets as we head into summer?
So starting here with the wheat market, it's seen some upward movement in the past couple of weeks. Currently in the futures market, $5.42 is what it was at as we started recording here. That's about 33 cents higher than what it was 2 weeks ago. So seen some lift there. In soybeans, $10.20 is current futures market price, a 30-cent drop since about 2 weeks ago. And corn's at $4.40, which is about a 15-cent drop since about 2 weeks ago. So our summer crops are under a little bit of pressure. Our winter crop that we're getting ready to harvest here, or in the midst of harvest, is seeing a little bit of an upward lift.
Before we get into harvest, when it comes with those summer crops, you had been talking about the past couple of weeks of that, those dips in prices happening. Is it still just kind of that corn and soybeans kind of fighting with each other?
They're kind of moving together right now.
Oh, okay.
That fight has kind of subsided now that we've got not most, but some of it in the ground, and those decisions are largely made with regard to what producers are going to do with their acres. So that fight's kind of over right now. We're kind of thinking we're in that uncertain stage of what this crop's going to do. It's that pearl inside the oyster that we don't really know how it's going to shape out. As the season progresses, we'll continue to gather more information and know more. But right now, markets are in that uncertain stage. Mostly right now, I think a lot of it is the uncertainty with regard to what trade is going to do now that we're kind of in the midst of the growing season.
And you mentioned wheat harvest. Combines are rolling right now, huh?
They are. Here in Oklahoma, 4% of the wheat crop is currently harvested. That's down from 9%, our 5-year average. In terms of the nation, 3% harvested as of right now. That's about average. We're where we at nationally. Overall, the crop's looking pretty good. 55% good to excellent here in Oklahoma. 53% good to excellent across the nation. Some uncertainty about what that's going to look like moving forward. But yeah, we currently are in the midst of harvest.
And obviously, we have some weather issues. More rain, expected through a good portion of the beginning of June. So how is that going to impact prices at all?
Well, I suspect that could very well continue to add some lift to prices if the weather shakes out how meteorologists are forecasting, because it's going to certainly potentially do some damage to the crop. If you think about what we recently learned from the Wheat Commission, there's many producers that are saying they may not even harvest the wheat, more so than normal. But again, the good to excellent ratings kind of are saying the other thing. So if the weather does progress in the way that we think it's going to happen, potentially going to see some damage to the crop and maybe some lower test weight, some lower bushels per acre, which could reduce supply, which is going to have a positive impact on price.
All right, thanks, John Michael, OSU agriculture economist here at Oklahoma State University.
Good morning, Oklahoma, and welcome to Cow-Calf Corner. Our topic this week is bermudagrass and fertilizer. We've had a good spring in Oklahoma. Over the past couple months, we've had ample rains, and for those that have got bermudagrass pastures, that's a really good news story, because bermudagrass is an improved forage, has got a lot of characteristics that make it really favorable for cow-calf production. It's got that potential to respond to fertilization almost in a linear fashion, that with adequate moisture, adequate amount of NPK, and particularly the nitrogen component of that, bermudagrass can be highly productive. It also is resistant to herbicides. We can control weeds in it. It's got a growing season that's favorable in Oklahoma. We'd expect bermudagrass to grow really well this time of year as it warms up going into June. If we've got that fertilizer down, we continue to get some moisture, we'd expect our bermudagrass to grow well into the really hot part of August, and then it really kicks off and grows again right up until first frost. And so a lot of times a split application of fertilizer is really beneficial to get a little more on as we get into September, typically another high rainfall month for us. Things to remember about bermudagrass: as productive as it can be, and for all these positive characteristics that it offers, it does require farming, management, and inputs. We do need to control weeds. It's good to soil test periodically. It is important that we get that fertilizer down in a timely fashion, hopefully ahead of continued moisture. And with those inputs, it can do a lot more for us in terms of stocking rate, carrying capacity, and the amount of beef produced per acre than our native grass ranges can do. I hope this helps, and as always, thanks for joining us on Cow-Calf Corner.
As Josh and John Michael mentioned, our state's wheat harvest is officially underway. According to the Oklahoma Wheat Commission, combines are primarily rolling in the southwest part of the state, with some producers also cutting near Kingfisher, but many are simply rained out this week. Test weights range from 58 to 64 pounds per bushel. Early samples show protein content ranging between 11 and 11.5%, and yields generally range from 25 to 45 bushels per acre. However, early county reports in southern Oklahoma indicate that up to half of the wheat acreage has been lost due to severe flooding and lodging. For harvest information and a link to the Wheat Commission's full reports, just go to sunup.okstate.edu.
Finally today, part 2 of our interview at the recent Wheat Field Day at Lahoma with Dr. Brett Carver, telling us about the new varieties that he and fellow scientists are developing. We're continuing our conversation now at Lahoma with Dr. Brett Carver, OSU's wheat breeder. And Brett, we've done lots of interviews out here over the years in this very field, and where we're standing right now is really a first for you and the team.
It sure is, and it's a monumental moment. I remember back in 2020, I was telling growers at the annual wheat growers meeting that just give us about 4 or 5 years and let's talk about what we have in coaxium and coaxium genetics. Here we are.
Here we are.
We have something to talk about.
So there's really 4 you want to kind of narrow it down to today. Just kind of set the stage for coaxium, knowing that this process is moving pretty quickly in the world of science. Set the stage for us, and what do you like about these 4 in particular?
Well, the stage is, we knew we needed to use an accelerated breeding process to be talking about advanced lines in 4 to 5 years. And we did. We used double haploidization to get the inbreds done quickly. We've tested a little bit more stringently each year to get the data we needed in fewer years. And so now we have that. The one thing I've watched a lot this year and taken notes on almost weekly was how these lines responded to an application of the herbicide, that being aggressor. That was very informative to me. I mean, it was my first time that I could really see these in action after they've been treated. Now remember, we in a research team have to use an unsafe inversion of the commercial product of the aggressor. So it's not safe. And we use a 2x, a double the commercial rate treatment. Plus we use an adjuvant that really makes that treatment hot. So we use the worst case scenario. So when I talk about, this line doesn't seem to have as much herbicide tolerance as another, it's under the most stringent conditions of applying that herbicide, even under drought stress like we had this year.
Explain to us why you have to take it to that extreme.
Yeah, because we don't want a mistake out in the field. We want farmers to be able to confidently apply their version of the herbicide and be confident that wheat variety is going to take it just fine.
In this family, what qualities are you looking at with some of these different varieties? What do you really have your eye on?
Yeah, well, beyond herbicide tolerance, we're looking at the same qualities we would look at for the non-conventional or the conventional varieties without the trait. And so the one behind me, the 031X, I think just really stands out for grazing tolerance. We've had some good looks at that under real conditions and simulated conditions. And the parentage of it also tells me that should not be so surprising. This is a duster grandparent derivative. Plus, the other side of the parentage involves the herbicide trait donor. In this case, it was a variety from Colorado State University that just happened to carry what I think might be the better pair of tolerance genes, herbicide tolerance genes, that allow a pretty stringent high rate of the herbicide. So I'm pretty excited about 3.1. It stands apart in that respect. But the other 3 I'm excited about too. What
about those do you like?
Well, okay, so we have, they're very similar. They're very similar in their maturity. They're early maturing. In fact, the 055, Dr. Silva's actually looked at this one, and she is right now looking at its fitness in a short season scenario. In other words, let's plant this late, give the farmer a chance to maybe mechanically clearing up the weeds, remove the weeds by tillage, and then hopefully we have a variety that will mature at the same time as anything else planted at the normal time. That's what short season is all about, and the 055 seems to fit that. We need more data from her to nail that down. The other 2, well, I must say the 076, it is in the variety trials this year. We could not put all of these in. So I chose the one I thought might be the one at the end. Well, I'm not sure now. But the 076, still, it has our highest grain yield potential of these, I think. And then the 082 has our best combination of disease traits. So best leaf rust, best stripe rust resistance, better quality. So all these things are going to have to be flushed out, and I think we can do it this summer.
What are some of the next steps and kind of the timeline with these test varieties?
Well, first, I mean, we have to handle all the legalities of working with this germplasm. So there's a commercialization agreement that we need to sign and get that approved. And so that's being worked on right now. During that time, we can also ramp up seed production. Jeff Wright with Oklahoma Foundation Seed Stocks is doing that. Jeff has actually increased these and others before this year. So we have an ongoing flush of foundation seed coming along that gives us more seed than what we would have had by just 1 year of production. I'm really glad about that. And it also gave him a chance to apply the herbicide, the commercial version of the herbicide, and just to double check how these experimental lines responded. They responded quite well in that case.
Gets more information in as you try to narrow down your decision.
Yeah, in this accelerated process, we need as much information as we can get.
Sure. Well, once again, thanks for giving us all of this information. It's an exciting time as usual for the wheat breeding team, and please keep us posted.
I will.
Okay, thanks a lot, Brett. We're winding down here at Lahoma with Brett, but we want to encourage you to check out wheat information anytime at wheat.okstate.edu. Lots of great information there. And of course, we have a link for you on the SUNUP website.
And that'll do it for our show this week. Just a reminder that you can find us anytime on our website, follow us on social media, and stream us anytime on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SUNUPTV. I'm Lyndall Stout. Have a great week, everyone, and remember, Oklahoma agriculture starts at sunup.